What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. So Michigan State suffers a tough 17-24 loss on the road to rival Michigan on Saturday night. A game in which Michigan State could have won and probably should have won, really outplaying them for 90-95% of the game. But a couple key stats to look at in determining this game, and Michigan making a few adjustments and offensive plays, which we haven't seen this year from them, was the difference in this football game Saturday night. So we're going to talk about it and take a peek ahead for Michigan State coming up. If you could, though, hit that like and subscribe button down there for more Michigan State content going forward. Michigan State basketball exhibition game number 2 this week, last tune-up before the regular season. We'll have a preview, recap, then we'll be back at the end of this week for an Indiana football preview. So really just jumping into the game, want to get this part out of the way first, just because I hate saying it, but you gotta give Michigan credit where credit is due. Two of the most important stats in this game, and two of the most important stats in any rivalry game: turnovers and penalties. Penalties: Michigan State 6 for 35 yards, Michigan 0. Turnovers: Michigan State 1, Michigan 0. Really, that was a big part of determining this outcome. Michigan State, as I said, really outplayed them for 90-95% of the game. Really, and it was really broken up. They outplayed them for about 98% of the first half, and then Michigan got into a 2-minute drive to end the first half. They were able to get a touchdown, missed the extra point, and then Michigan State gets the ball back. They end up popping a long run with Nathan Carter. So then it's like, that's what you usually do. End of half, I'm fine with that. End of half, they pop a big run with Nate Carter. So then it's like, all right, hurry up, get to the line. You go for it. And then Aiden Childs ends up fumbling it to give Michigan the ball back for a chance to get a field goal. A game in which Michigan State dominated the whole first half. Now you're down 2 going to the half. That's a huge blow. While we're going through that, I will mention too, I don't mind the aggressiveness there to go for it for Michigan State at the end of the half, because that's in your coaching sheet, chart, whatever. You go for it, you pop a big run, okay, you get up. I don't like the play call though. You're going for it in that situation, especially with the way that Childs has struggled with turnovers this year. In no way can Aiden Childs leave the pocket in that situation. With his turnover problems, both fumbling and throwing interceptions this year, that play has got to be called between the tackles. If it's not there, then you throw it away. You cannot do, yes, we've seen him do incredible stuff with his feet, but in that situation to end the half, still in their territory on their side of the field, that play call can just not happen. Another thing too, kind of backing up a little bit, Michigan State's first drive, they get all the way down to the 2. It's 4th and 1, 4th and inches, whatever they were saying on the broadcast, nose of the football, whatever it was, 4th and inches, you're going for it. But then Jonathan Smith later confirmed, which you kind of thought so in the moment, but confirmed that, seeing the time, the score, the clock where it was at, he decided to just take that delay of game penalty to go for the field goal. Obviously, then hindsight's 20/20 on that with Jonathan Kim, who has been pretty much automatic this year and throughout his career at Michigan State, misses the field goal. But I just don't understand that from Jonathan Smith's perspective in, terms of, I've said earlier this year the times where he's gone for it on 4th and short and, you didn't get it. And I said beforehand, I was like, I'm just taking the points here, given where the game score is at here. But in this situation, I'm like, all year, Jonathan Smith has constantly talked about the difference that he preaches to his team about the difference between 7 points and 3 points. Right there, you have a situation, 4th and inches right on the goal line. Your defense, you love how your defense has played this year. So it's like, just go for it. Either quarterback sneak or, something going towards, give yourself a chance to get those inches to get into, scoring 7 points. So I don't get that there. Just take the time out, regroup, set up a play that you really love. Michigan State has struggled in the red zone this year. There's no, ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no way around it. They've struggled mightily in the red zone this year. But I just didn't get that. Obviously you can say hindsight's 20/20, yes, but in the moment I'm like, if you're going to go for it, you've gone for it all year in these situations. Don't break mold right now in a rivalry game. So didn't like that. Coming out in the third quarter, and really some at the end of the second quarter into the third quarter, to give credit to Michigan. They did mix up their offensive plays, stuff that we haven't seen, really at all this year for them. I mean, we've seen in the second half Donovan Edwards throw a 23-yard touchdown pass as well. Alex Orji, they mixed in all game, 6 carries, 64 yards, and a touchdown. Had a 29-yard run as well. He also had the game-sealing run on third down to end the game in the fourth quarter. Colston Loveland, we'll get to his stuff after the game, but 6 catches, 67 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The 2-point conversion as well. They made just enough plays on offense to win the game. They also switched up the look offensively enough to win the game on Saturday night, and that's what you got to do in these rivalry games. Switching over to the Michigan State side, I mean, this is one that you're just going to look back at, and that's why I said this one's going to stick with, the program and the fan base for a while. This is a game in which you outgained and outplayed Michigan in pretty much every single category. Total yards, 352 to 265. Passing, 189, 146. Rushing, 163 to 119. I mean, really just the two most important categories, penalties and turnovers, are, what got Michigan State on Saturday night. And then also red zone efficiency, not being able to capitalize and finish with 7 points instead of 3 points. Starting the game off, Nathan Carter and this Michigan State offensive line and running game, they really just established the run. They were running the ball down Michigan's throats pretty much the whole game, but for sure kicking off the game on that first drive and really that second drive as well. Nate Carter, his best game as a Spartan, 19 carries, 118 yards. That's a 6.2 average had a touchdown as well, along 34-yard rush as well. I did like some of the stuff K'Ron Lynch-Adams did as well. 10 carries, 35 yards for 3.5 average. Not eye-popping numbers. Some of his numbers, I think, are a little bit skewed as well. Some of the problems the offensive line has had this year with, the defensive line getting penetration into the backfield before the running back has any chance to get any movement. Some of that happened with K'Ron Lynch-Adams. Childs, 8 carries, 6 yards. They were trying to mix that in, but I mean, this is a stout Michigan defensive front, so, wasn't as effective there as we, saw against Iowa. Receiving, for Michigan State, it's a crime that Nick Marsh only had 4 catches for 42 yards. That's kind of a game plan coaching decision that I, was questioning a little bit coming in, especially when the news of Will Johnson being out this game, why you weren't taking more deep shots. Literally, when heard earlier in the day that Will Johnson was out, I literally ran directly to FanDuel and was taking, a lot of Aiden Childs yards, 100+ Nick Marsh yards. Like this, I thought it was going to be similar to that 2021 game, like, bomb it over the top, like Rocky Lombardi to Ricky White. But that wasn't in the game plan, and I'm fine with establishing the run because that's what Jonathan Smith, Brian Lindgren, this offense wants to do, and that's something they did last week, they did this week. That's positive, but I just feel like all game they were running the ball so effectively that they were really setting up that play action game for Aiden Childs in this offense, and I just don't think they really, until that second to last drive, really didn't take super good advantage, and that Nick Marsh touchdown play is another reason why he should not only have caught 4 balls. I think, there should have been more movement in the passing game, but I understand that the running game was going, but just would have liked to see a little bit better split there, especially with their, the depth of their secondary behind Will Johnson. Would have liked to, test that a little bit more. This game will stick with you because as, kind of the year went on and you saw how this little 2-game stretch, Iowa and Michigan, 2 similar teams play kind of the same style, is it's like, all right, you need to win one of these. Michigan State got ahead of the curve last week and won against Iowa, and which was the most complete game for Michigan State this season. So then the vibes get really high. You're going in a rivalry game. Michigan's been kind of down, losing 2 in a row. You go in, then you kind of have this letdown in a game that you, as I said at the top, you could have and you probably should have won. But we'll take a kind of 360 look at this and, kind of 1,000 yards back, I guess, whatever, metaphor or whatever you want to use to look at it. It's like, where did we want to be sitting at the beginning of the year, at the end of October? 4-4. What did we want to do with this 2-game stretch, even as we move through the year? You wanted to go 1-1 through this stretch. The goals for the year were get to a bowl game. Most people's, record prediction was 6 or 7 wins. I went a little bit optimistic and said 8. 8 wins is still on the table. Very tough test next week. Indiana, you still got Illinois, Purdue, and Rutgers on the schedule as well. It's going to be tough to get to 8 wins, but you still have a really good opportunity to get to a bowl game, get to 6-7 wins. That's all still in front of you. You have 3 home games of the last 4 left in this last month of the season. A lot of stuff to still play for Michigan State, but a lot of shooting yourself in the foot this game a lot of ways. Special teams error, missed field goal, the fumble at the end of the half, some coaching decisions. And, I'm the first to defend Jonathan Smith for everything, but there were some decisions in this game that it's like, all right, you'd probably like to have that back. We mentioned, the one on the first drive of the game. The onside kick, I don't mind trying to steal a possession, but, I don't know. I kind of feel like, I know some people said it on Twitter as well. It's like, you don't need trick plays and, all this extra stuff to win this game when you were kind of on level playing field. That situation, I kind of like just kicking it down there. The way what Michigan just did on offense, it's like, okay, go do that again and against our defense, which we feel really good to this point in the season. Kick it down there, force them to do it. And obviously nothing came from going for the onside kick and not getting it. This defense was able to get them off the field. But I mean, it was kind of just a collection of events of, shooting yourself in the foot. I don't feel the same way about these, self-inflicted mistakes as I have in years past, because I am confident that Jonathan Smith and this coaching staff can get that fixed going forward. Look at what was the problem with the first 3 games of the year. Penalties, double-digit penalties in all those games. And then since then, I don't think they've went over double-digit penalties at all once. Maybe they did once or flirted with it once, but, that penalty, problem was a problem at the beginning of the year. That got fixed during the season. We got Indiana next week. We got to bye. Some of this stuff is going to get fixed. Is it going to be snap of the fingers fixed? Probably not. No. But, there's enough stuff and evidence from this coaching staff that, this stuff will get fixed. It won't just sit there. The staff won't be complacent. They'll work on it and they'll get it fixed. Now, to just get to all the hullabaloo at the end of the game, the skirmish, are we going to get anything from, obviously, Colston Loveland? I mean, if you think anyone other than Colston Loveland is the one that started that whole thing at the end, please get your brain checked, because I don't think you have any brain cells left in there. Blame can be had on both sides. The last play, kneel down, should you probably just, okay, tap, all right, good game, respect, walk to the locker room. It's a rivalry game. That doesn't happen. Colston Loveland starts running his mouth, and then, headbutts Anthony Jones, and then things proceed from there. All 90, 100 people on Michigan sideline compile on the 4 or 5 Michigan State players right there before everyone from both sidelines get involved, and, then you have Khalil Mullins in the middle of it, just jumping up and down like he's on a trampoline, assumingly on a Michigan State player, staffer. Who knows? I mean, maybe it was a Michigan, staffer or player under there. That would sure be a story. But if you use your brain, it was more than likely a Michigan State player or staffer underneath there. Getting stomped on by Khalil Mullins. All started by Colston Loveland. But, will we hear anything about it? No. Will we hear anything about it from Michigan, Detroit Free Press, Detroit Michigan Free Press, should I say, or any of the other major news outlets in this state? No, you won't. Will you hear anything about it from ESPN? No, you won't. It's Michigan. You shouldn't expect anything. We're not going to re-talk about the tunnel thing, but, same kind of concept there. Yes, Michigan State was mostly in the fault there too, but was Michigan the one instigating what happened in the tunnel? Yes. Should Michigan State have responded the way they did? No, absolutely not. No one's saying that, but blame is to be had on both sides. This one, who started it again? Oh, Michigan. Who's going to get blamed? Obviously, thankfully, this wasn't as bad as that situation. But this, there's pretty solid video evidence. Unless you need to go to an eye doctor and get your eyes checked, that Michigan was the problem of that whole thing there. So we'll see what happens. Do I expect anything to happen, or hey, maybe Jonathan Smith and Alan Haller will call up the local prosecutor attorney's office and ask for Colston Loveland and Khalil Mullins to be prosecuted and go to jail for life like Harbaugh and that administration and whatever did a couple years ago. Maybe they will, but I don't know. Will there be anything? No. Will you hear about it? No. That's just what you expect, because that's how this goes, and that's how it is. But we'll move on from that. The little brother comment coming out from Loveland again. Yeah, sure, he's won 3 times against Michigan State in his career. So he's never lost to them. Yeah, that was kind of similar to the Mike Hart little brother comment from back in 2007, Mark D'Antonio's first game. But that's just Michigan. You don't expect anything left. Obviously, Chase Winovich pulled it out in 2018 too. They all pull it out. That's what they do. I just find it funny that the little brother line still gets pulled out when You look at the last 17 years, it's what, 10-7 Michigan State advantage. The last 10 games going into this game was 5-5. So now obviously Michigan leads the last 10 in the series 6-4. So it's like, yeah, you guys are our little brother. Like, we're dominating you, and you have a 1-game advantage in the last 10. Like, okay, they just don't have a lot of common sense or self-awareness over there in Ann Arbor, but we know that. But that's just how it goes. We'll see Jonathan Smith's presser on Monday, see if, I don't expect him to have a pride comes before the fall Mark D'Antonio moment there, but we'll see if he comments on it. I kind of doubt it. I'm sure he'll get asked about it, but I mean, he just doesn't. I don't think he's the type of person to kind of stoke those flames like that just yet. And I'm not buying because he doesn't understand the hatred and the rivalry. I don't understand that. He knows the hatred and understands what this game means. Obviously now he's coached in it, so probably understands it even more. But saying that he didn't understand the hatred and all this and the rivalry, I think is just silly. It'll get handled for Jonathan Smith, and I'm sure will be addressed. Bulletin board for years ahead. Does that mean that this will translate into the run Mark D'Antonio went on after Mike Hart said this? No, it doesn't. But I mean, I'm curious to see if he says anything. Like I said, I kind of doubt he will. But that's just is how it is. It's just arrogant Michigan being arrogant Michigan. But should you expect anything less? No, you shouldn't. So lastly, just looking ahead for Michigan State, doesn't get any easier. You have 13th ranked, top of the Big Ten, Indiana, coming into Spartan Stadium on Saturday, 3:30 kick, so not a night game. 3:30, as long as it's not a 12 game. I still personally hate 12 o'clock games. But we got a 3:30 kick in Spartan Stadium against 13th ranked Indiana. Then we have our bye week. Then on the 16th, we go to number 24, Illinois, come back for a Friday night game against Purdue, and then close it out Thanksgiving Saturday against Rutgers. So still a lot of good games left on the schedule. Opportunity to close this thing out, get to a bowl game, get those extra practices, and, make progress going forward. But anyway, that'll do it for this one. As I said, we'll be back early this week, talk about Michigan State basketball exhibition. Be back at the end of this week to preview the Indiana game. But that'll do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.